The Brain Truth with Allison Jordan. Repair, renew, reclaim. And now your host, Allison Jordan.
This is episode 212, The Brain Truth with Allison Jordan on Intellectual. I almost hit the wrong thing. See how tired I am, y'all? On the Brain Truth Radio and iHeartRadio station. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Podbean, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, Player FM, Amazon Music, Listen Notes, and anywhere you can listen to your podcast. And especially now on YouTube, guys. We are on YouTube. We have over 1,000 subscribers. So I want you guys to go to YouTube, please, and go to The Brain Truth with Allison Jordan. Look at that. Y'all always get your phones out so you can screenshot everything in the show. Just get used to like screenshotting a lot of stuff because we give a lot of information. So if y'all don't have a pen and paper, you don't know, and you're just watching for the first time, start screenshotting. So screenshot this, take a picture. Give us some more subscribers. Okay. So before I get started, I just wanted to talk about what I talked about last week. She keeps chewing away at my brain, my Bendy. Bendy's locked up. Remember, Bendy used to come and be my sidekick, but the older she get, woo, child, that little something. And I think my sister who helped get me to buy that beautiful, wonderful creature is coming on today. But I've got some flowers. I got flowers delivered to me from my sister who lives in Dallas now. And then I got a chance to see my niece and nephew from Atlanta and Drew, as you guys know, my sister from Atlanta Housewives that came in town for Josiah's birthday party. And then my mom came back from Atlanta, so she's home. And then I also sat in on the AC Green show and co-hosted with that on 106.3. It was really fun. They want me to come back. We did the Brain Truth. So we're going to be talking mental health on like a secular, very large radio station, which is really exciting because this is what we need to be doing, talking about this stuff. Okay. So I also want to announce that we have an Amazon partnership. So we have an Amazon affiliate partnership. With that, what does that mean? You can go to our website at thebraintruth.com and you can pick out some of the items that we already have, but also let us know what items we should carry on our Amazon shopping page with our partnership with Amazon. What does this affiliate mean to us? It means that we make money when you shop with the Brain Truth so we can continue to pay for the things we need to pay for the podcast, help other families, do all the outreach and initiatives. So remember that, okay? So I want you guys to continue to support us. Now, last time, again, we talked about the Ukrainian efforts, right? I want to, again, remind you guys to donate to the World Central Kitchen, right? So far, 1 million meals have been served to families across Ukraine, Poland, Romania, Moldova, and Hungary. So please, again, screenshot this, write this down, send food. From what I understand, they're running out of food, guys. They're running out of food. Also, I want you guys to remember to support the Urgent Action Fund for Women's Human Rights. And they too are out there on the front lines, and they are providing everything from food and transportation to shelter for those fleeing in conflict. So guys, just remember to keep supporting that. I also want to talk about a little bit. Well, I don't want to talk about it, but I think I should talk about it. The little Will Smith and the Chris Rock. I don't really want to get into it. I want to get into it. But I did say on my Facebook that he must have been having like a mental like situation. And this is a show about mental health. And from what I understand, he did offer an apology today to Chris Rock. And so we're just going to leave it at that. You know, we're just going to pray for all involved, and we're going to continue to advocate for those that make mistakes and not penalize them for a small, mental situation that happened. And so I'm going to leave it right there. Okay. So I want to talk about, if you want to get involved or be a sponsor on the show, please go to thebraintruth.com. please, we are still looking for sponsors. And I want to talk about some of our sponsors. Of course, Swabs and Swirls, which offers free COVID testing and gatherings. And I know I'm all out of everywhere, Krishana. But go to swabsandswirls@gmail.com if you guys ever need to get a COVID test for any events that you're having up and you want to keep them safe, because we're still getting positive results, even though they're telling you to take your mask off. It's still out there. And then I also want to talk about NAMI South Suburbs, which you know that I'm a board member, River Edge Hospital, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and we have a new sponsor, Generational Wealth Team. Okay, so if you guys want to sponsor, go to The Brain Truth, www.thebraintruth.com, or you can always send us a cash app at # The Brain Truth. Okay, I'm going to do the brain bit now. Sorry, Krishana. I know she back there like, what is this girl doing? I had dropped all my pages. Oh God, I dropped my pages. Okay, so this brain bit was brought to us by a young kid. His name is Louise John from Portland, and he is 16 years old. And as you know, the brain bit is our time because laughter is healing for the mind and the body and the soul. So here's today's brain bit. Krishana's like, wait. All right. What do you get if you cross a thought with a light bulb? Do 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 do. What do you get if you cross a thought with a light bulb? Okay, a bright idea. Okay. Anyway, we'd love to keep hearing. I got a lot of brain bits. Again, I'm not responsible. People submit them to me. So if you have a brain bit, tag us on Facebook at thebraintruth.com or email us at thebraintruthradio@gmail. Okay. All righty. So I want to just show something really cute before we go into our brain rain spotlight. But it was a promo of like all the stuff that we've been through over the last 25 weeks, I think, or 26 weeks. So I just want you guys to kind of see, if you haven't. I see there's a lot of people. Hey, Jenny. Hey, Lisa. Hey, Dana. I see a lot of people watching, but run this little clip. I think it's really cute. It's about 4 minutes, so be patient. But let's get into it. Okay, let's get into the brain truth. Hi, got my brain. Good evening, Brain Joes. Brain Joes, Brain Joes, Brain Joes. Good evening. Welcome to another episode of The Brain Truth with Allison Jordan on the Brain Truth Radio and iHeart Radio station. What this show is my story. This is my journey to mental health and wellness. And so what I did was, after you guys watched the show and we got an overwhelming amount of people that were writing in, and I was reading these emails and I was reading these letters, and I was just like, wow, you are not doing well in life. So I have people with me today that's going to help us in this journey. We go after helping people in all aspects of it, whether it's, mental illness, nutrition, meditation. We're just powerful. You can learn more about the Brain Gang at thebraintruth.com. I get emotional every show. Sorry. We don't pop the champagne. There's Dr. Gettings. Hey, girl. Hi, Dr. Donna. The brain bit. The brain buzz. The brain biology. The brain rain, brain bliss. But I just want to thank you for always standing for me, including me in things. You don't know what that feels like, being a person that works behind the scenes all the time. And we work so hard and we make celebrities out of people. And you know who I've made, and people slept on my couch, but to be a part, and you've always included me in things and dreams. And I just want to acknowledge you publicly in front of everybody that you're beyond a casting director. You really are like a saint. You do the work. You never get credentials or recognition ever. And I just want to give you your flowers right now on this day of International Women's Day. I want to acknowledge you. I want to tell you how much you're beloved and how much you mean to me, and how much you being here tonight in this conversation means to all of our brain jewels. And I just want to say welcome.
When I'm fasting for someone, that person is my total focus. So today, Allison, you were my focus. I was talking to God about you. So when I wake up in the morning after I'm thanking the Lord, I'm going in my fast and saying, Lord, I thank you for this fast and what it's going to accomplish, the reasons why I'm fasting. And I'm fasting to break yokes.
I want you to go to your phone and put this alarm. It's called traffic control. What is traffic control? Traffic control is what you put in your phone or your alarm every hour, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, just every single hour. And during traffic control, that's our opportunity, no matter what we're doing, to take a deep breath, check ourselves, see how you're doing. Am I okay? Am I mad at somebody? Somebody making me mad? Am I getting ready to go off on somebody at lunch? Am I getting ready to go in there and say something to my husband I shouldn't say, or something to my child? So that's our opportunity to sort of recalibrate, rethink. So traffic control, stop. See what's going on in here. See what's moving. Slow it down. Stop it down. Okay? And that's just going to make life a little better.
I feel like we just got started. And I'm getting like, we got to wrap up. Why can't these shows be 5 hours long, y'all? Is our show just so good that it just go by real fast? Because I feel like I even gotten into some really deep, juicy stuff. Because we didn't even talk about, like, really for real, Black people, and y'all got to stop with this, I can fix it on my own. Or, like, y'all, get into therapy. You are hurting. You are depressed. You have anxiety. You don't know what to do, right? There are people in the world that is anointed and appointed by God. And I wrote down something where I had said, thank you, God, for putting me through what you put me through. Because if I didn't go through what I went through, I wouldn't have desired so much healing. And that healing wouldn't have led me to you, Dr. Ivy. That desire for you to want me to be healed because of your walk wouldn't have led me to Sister Jenna. And I surely wouldn't be sitting here right now in this space helping other people.
You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Podbean, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, Player FM, Amazon Music, Listen Notes, and anywhere you can listen to your podcast.
Yay! Wasn't that so fun to watch? I mean, and that was just a little bit of what we've done over the last 25, 26 weeks. So thank you guys for checking it out. I want to hear about it. Again, go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, and watch the video. Watch a bunch of videos because we need more views. Also, if you guys want to be a part of our incredible Brain Gang or the Brainiac Board, or become a resource on our resource page, because we populate all different resources, go to thebraintruth.com. That's www.thebraintruth.com, and find out how you can become part of this little party, y'all. Okay, so let's get to it. This is our new segment that I'm so excited about. This is called the Brain Rain Spotlight, everybody. The Brain Rain Spotlight. So this is about people who's using their brain to what? Make it rain. I mean, they're turning some of their hardships in their journeys and monetizing or doing goodwill. And so today, my Brain Rain Spotlight is my beautiful, beautiful sister girl, and she does my hair, y'all. She's my hair lady. Okay, so her name is Sable Fournier. She is a master hairstylist and hair care owner of Sweet Sable's Hair Butter. She has been a hairstylist since 7 years old, and I could believe it because the girl is bad, and she's now 35. She always knew she had a passion for making everybody feel beautiful, and it's made her grow into this hair and care mogul. And this stuff that she has, I want to talk about it because it's beyond like just hair butter, but it's made to make your hair hydrate, and it has other benefits. I call it crack butter something, whatever. But anyway, come on in here, Sable.
Hi. I do have on my pink. I have on my pink.
You're on your pink. Hey, girl. So You said you started doing hair at the age of 7. Did I read that right?
Yes.
Like when you
Hmm.
say doing hair, like what? Like for real, for real? I could
Like
believe
for
it.
real. For real. My mother was a hairstylist for many
Okay.
years, and my dad actually taught hair. So he
So you
taught hair
just, it's
care.
in your blood. It's in your,
Yeah.
well, what I love about you, for real, like I've always loved you from the very first moment I met you. But when I come and get my hair done, it is literally not just about hair. We really do have these
Yeah.
incredible, don't you agree? Is it just
I
me
do.
that we
I do. No, you're right. You're right. We always go into depth and talk and get deep, girl. We get deep. We
we
get
get deep
deep. We
and we
pray and
and we
cry.
yeah, cry, and we've helped each other through this, especially for me, my mental journey, because one of the first things, that I came to when I came out of the hospital, as you guys all know, I spent 19 days in a psychiatric hospital, was, remember, you did my hair. You
Yes.
did my hair. You're one of the first people that I reconnected with, and I came to my studio and you did my hair.
Yes.
And ever since then, I just think you have such a beautiful soul and just a beautiful light. I love your
Thank
husband.
you.
You're an incredible mother. I know some things have happened recently, and I
Mhm.
want to just applaud you on your resilience. I don't know if you want to share or talk about it on this platform, but if you feel up to it, but I just want to acknowledge you because
Yeah.
I was checking on you and you was checking on me and I was checking on you and you was checking on me. I was like, are you checking on me? We going back and forth. We trying to check on each other, like out checking each
Definitely.
other. And I think that's
Yeah.
what it's about, is that we're open about, things that have
Yeah.
happened, and you talk about it in such a way. So
Yeah. And I am open to talking in depth about anything I've been through, because that's really what's been helping me heal
yeah.
through certain situations and
So do you want
turmoil
to
and
talk about
loss.
how you came out of your resilience like recently?
Um,
Because you went right back at it doing my hair. See?
yes. Yes. And that's see, here has always been therapeutic for me. So
Mm,
even if I'm going through loss, and I lost a child, so that is very that's a lot. That's super emotional. And doing hair and doing your hair and other people like you helped me out of that. And meditating, you
yes.
introducing me to the Palo Santos wood,
Yes.
and just meditating in the sound bowl and everything. I took
Right.
note. Okay, I took note,
Okay.
and I started applying those things to my life, and I've
Mm,
seen a tremendous change in me.
mm,
I mean, I've changed my diet. I work out every day. Like, I've made
wow.
lifestyle changes. I don't drink. I don't smoke. Like, I've made big, huge lifestyle changes
Yeah.
that before, when I first, the situation first happened, I went into a deep, deep, deep
Wow.
depression, and I
Really?
was doing everything I wasn't supposed to do.
Okay.
That's how that went.
Self-medicating and
Yes, yes,
yeah.
absolutely. And it was really to drown out my thinking. I didn't want to think. I didn't want to be present.
Yeah.
And through meditating and lifestyle changes, eating right, working out, that type of stuff, it's literally brought me back,
Yeah.
because now I feel like I'm actually living my life
Mm,
and
that's
not
so
just in my
beautiful.
life.
Well, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
So, hey, Mark, I see you. Well, thank you for sharing that. So let's
Yeah.
get to the rain, honey. Let's get to the rain. So this is I don't call this, you call this hair butter, girl. I call this body crack, everything.
Okay, it's
This stuff
everything
right
better.
here, guys, like, I promise you, Dr. Gettings, everybody, I'm not playing with y'all. First of all, I want y'all to see, look, I'm not even kidding. It keeps going. It keeps going. It keeps going. Like I have so many. I didn't even bring all of that. I don't even have all of them up here. But this
Oh my
stuff, I don't know.
goodness.
She won't tell me what she put in it, y'all. But it is a hair butter, body butter, and everything butter. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
my sister's friend, who's a nurse, she put it on a sore leg after working out. Somebody put it on a burn. Then I put it in my hair, and you saw how much hair I have.
Yes.
And then I put it on my face. I put it. I put it in places. I don't know if you can. It don't come with no. It don't come with no. But I put it there.
But
I
you
put it
can.
everywhere. Like they say,
Yes.
I put this on everything. So
Right.
tell me about this hair butter.
Um, it's a labor of love. It's a labor of
Uh,
love, and it's it's so great, honestly, because it works for everything: burns, scratches, scars. If you want to get like if you're having discoloration somewhere, it'll even that skin color out.
really?
So it is a everything butter. It's funny because it's actually
To
meant
get
to grow your hair, grow your edges,
it grows your
keep
hair. It
your
grows
hair
your edges.
hydrated.
Because
Yeah.
I put it in the place, you know what I'm talking about, and it grew
Yes.
like it was shit. So be careful if you don't want hair growing in some places, everybody. Like, don't put it under your armpits if you don't want your
Yeah, because it's
it
gonna grow. It's
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 gonna
it's like
grow. It tilts
yeah,
your edges. And men, I've given it to my son. So it's not for women, it's for everybody. It
it's for
has
everybody. You can put it on your beard. If you're a
right.
man, you can put it on your beard. You can put it in your hair. To keep
Yeah.
your waves looking real nice and crispy. You can use it
Mhm.
there.
You
So
can't
it
tell me a little bit what's in it? Like just
um I give you a it's some aloe vera in it.
okay.
And that's it. That's all I'm giving
That's no more
you.
secret recipe. I got
No more
you.
secret recipe, but
Got
it's
you.
definitely that's part of the secret sauce.
Yeah, well, it
Yeah.
is amazing. I love it. I'm obsessed with it. I want everybody to buy it. Just don't y'all just be listening to me. Lisa, I see you on here. Jenny, I see all of you guys watching everywhere and all the different platforms. This is about giving people a voice, letting them talk about their healing journey, and then the rain that comes with them in their authenticity and turning things from what they've been through into something bigger. And
Yes,
I
yes.
also have like one real important question before you go.
Mhm.
When's my next appointment? I need to touch up.
um, girl, look.
When's
Let
my
me
next
put
appointment?
you.
You got your book? You got your book, girl?
I got my book. Hold
Okay, where's my appointment, honey? Because I need a touch up for real. Like those little pieces that I had given you or whatever, they were just
on.
kind of stringy.
Mhm.
They weren't. So it's my fault. I need to find out like the lighter ones to make them like curly. I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all got
Okay.
to watch if y'all want to. Shoot, y'all know how busy she is. I got to get Sable when you get Sable. So my appointment say
I don't. When can you do the 15th? I literally don't have anything until like the 15th or the
of what?
13th of April or the 15th of
Okay, April
April.
15th. What day is that on?
That's on a Friday.
Okay, yes, Fridays are good.
Okay,
Friday
cool, cool.
the 15th. Let me write that down.
Yep,
Okay,
I'm
what
locking you
time?
in
9 o'clock.
now.
9
Yes,
o'clock.
9
All right.
a.m. Have
I'm
we do
sorry y'all
yes.
had to be on the middle of this. Excuse me. Y'all don't understand. Y'all see, because if I didn't do it tonight, I would have called her tomorrow and I would have go all the way into March, April, May, and that ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna work. Okay. Well, I just want you guys to follow up. This is how you can get your Sable incredible. Get in touch
Yes.
with her at Sable Gives Life or Sable Strickland 49 at Gmail. And you can literally text her directly at 219-677-1761. That's 219-677-1761. Get y'all some butter body crack cream. Get it ASAP. Thank you, Sable. We love you. Thank you for
Thank
coming up
you.
and being on the Brain Raid. All right, guys, let's go into the brain buzz, because I know I'm a little bit behind because I'm just doing a lot. I'm doing extra today, y'all. I'm doing extra. So anyway, I saw on Quora, Jay Ragland was diagnosed with autism. He wrote this question: what's the biggest thing that Hollywood gets wrong about autism? And of course, today we're going to be talking about autism. We're going to talk about traumatic brain injury. And so our brain buzz is going to a little buzz about it, right? So I researched this question because I didn't know like what's the biggest thing Hollywood got wrong with autism. I didn't even know that was a question, right? And so when I researched, there was an article in the Hollywood Reporter, and it said 30 years ago, the autistic savant portrayed by Dustin Hoffman still represents people's idea of autism. They said before Rain Man, that was a movie, Rain Man, there was no popular conception of what autism looked like among the public or on screen. At that point, autism was an abstraction understood only by dedicated parents or specialized clinicians. Rain Man, what can I say? Remains Hollywood's only runaway success with autistic character. In the 30 years since its release, No film or TV show involving an autistic character has matched the commercial and critical success of Rain Man. And this has allowed it to attain a unique kind of cultural staying power. Didn't know that, did ya? Ha. Also, since we're talking about traumatic brain injury, I want to take this moment, and I'm not gonna try not to get emotional, but I want to talk about a very, very, very good friend of mine. Somebody who was beyond a friend. He was, part of my life, but his name was Dave Durson. He was diagnosed with CTE, which is chronic traumatic encephalopathy, which is a progressive and fatal brain disease associated with repeated traumatic brain injuries, including concussions and repeated blows to the head. Now, I spoke to Dave, my beloved, on Valentine's Day. That was on February 14th in 2011. And he kept telling me that he loved me and that he was sorry. And I wasn't clear what he was talking about at the time. And I had seen him 2 months earlier when he came to see me in my home. And he had complained of headaches, like anybody complains of headaches, blurred vision, and deteriorating memory in the months, before his death. But while we were talking, he would also like stare off a lot. And I just didn't know what was going on. I'd just be like, hey, what's going on? And that's why I think it's so crucial that we do these shows and we educate the public on these different variations in the mental health world, because not that, somebody stares off, you just be like, oh my God, do you have a, whatever, but we just got to pay more attention to what we're seeing and just not see it for what it is. And just, it's okay to ask, are you okay? Had I asked him, like, are you okay? I didn't ask, I didn't know. I just was like, oh, you got headaches and this and that. So anyway, Durson took his own life on February 17th, 2011 in his condo in Sunny Isle Beach, Florida. He shot himself in the chest rather than in the head so that his brain could be examined by Boston University Center for the Study of Traumatic Encephalopathy, which confirmed later on after his passing his diagnosis. And his final note to his loved ones was to please see that my brain is given to the NFL's brain bank. And so he was a hero, my Dave. And so if you want to find out more about Dave Durson and the Athletic Safety Fund, which provides both baseline and post-injury impact for all student athletes grades 7 through 12, this includes both male and female athletes in all sports, including cheerleading, go to the www.ddmuncieyouth.org. And that's the Dave Durson Athletic Safety Fund. Okay, let's get into our disclaimer. The Brain Truth does not serve the purpose of providing medical treatment or therapy services, diagnosis, prevention, or cure for any physical, mental, or emotional disease or issue or condition. As a member of our audience, you agree that the Brain Truth does not assume liability for any physical or mental disease, condition, or issue, or any other type of loss or damage due to any information shared on our podcast. So today's show is super loaded. And so since we are airing before April, which is World Autism Month, and April 2nd, which is World Autism Awareness Day, we have some really incredible guests to talk about autism. But before we go into the autism conversation, I want to quickly talk about brain injury awareness, because this whole month of March was also the Brain Injury Awareness Month. And so it's only apropos that we end the month on the subject, right? So Brain Injury Awareness is a public awareness campaign that provides a platform for educating the general public about the incidence of brain injury and the needs of people with brain injuries and their families. We wanted to first, before we talk about autism, I want to bring on, and I'm very honored to have him here tonight. His name is Gregory Ayotte. He is the Director of Consumer Services for the Brain Injury Association of America. And for more than 3 decades, the Brain Injury Association of America, BIAA, has proudly led the nation observing Brain Injury Awareness Month by conducting an engaging public awareness campaign in March of each year. So come on in here, Greg. Where's Greg? Hi, Greg.
Hi.
Welcome to the Brain Truth. How are you?
I'm good. I need to know, would that butter, help me grow
Oh,
a
you look
beard.
amazing, but you can still put the crack cream on your skin and just keep it glowy. It's glowy and beautiful. But remember, if you put it on your chin, you might grow a beard back.
I've never been able to grow a beard, so I was thinking, well, if I use
Oh yeah,
that,
put it on
maybe I
there.
could.
Put it on there. Let's see. And come back and let us know. So Greg, tell us about Brain Injury Association of America. Like, give us a little snapshot. What is your day today? I know you are the director, and I know it said something about you guys do something on March of the year, but what typically does your job in life look like?
So the Brain Injury Association of America is a private nonprofit foundation. It's been around since 1980, and it kind of does a few things. The part that I handle is we have a National Brain Injury Information Center where we have an 800 number where people can call to get information about brain injury. We try to point people in the right direction as far as resources and supports in their area.
So what is brain injury? Like, I had a friend, and I know she probably watching because she'd be like, why are you always talking about me? Hey, Lady Red. Lady Red is watching, everybody. But I have been diagnosed with, I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder and then social anxiety disorder, depression, all that. And she said, well, what happened, something with your brain injury? I don't know what to say to you. And I'm like, do I have a brain injury? Is that a brain injury? What's a brain injury? Break it down a little bit for us.
Sure. So there's two categories or types of brain injury. You have the traumatic brain injury. So that's something from some external force. So that's a car accident or a fall or a blow to the head or some external force that damages the brain. So then you have the acquired or non-traumatic injury that doesn't require an external force. So that could be a stroke or a brain tumor. And some of the areas that really are kind of underestimated and not as well understood are the hypoxic injury. So the lack of oxygen to the brain for a little period of time, which can happen after an overdose or after a heart attack, or like a near drowning event or something like that can also damage the brain as well. So there's multiple ways that the brain can be damaged, and each injury kind of looks a little different, I would say, right? So each presents a little bit different because the brain is damaged a little bit different in each of them.
This is all, like, every time I do my show, sometimes I forget I'm doing a show because I'll be sitting there like, I didn't know that. I need to take notes on my own show because I didn't know that it also included people who have strokes and other things. I just thought it was like injury, like you had to just be like, boom, like an injury. So what is the challenges of diagnosing it? Like,
So for some, it's clear that an injury happened, right? So if you had a car accident and you're knocked out and you're unconscious, it's clear that person probably had an injury, needs to get checked out. The majority of the traumatic injuries are what they call mild injuries. So you may have a car accident or a fall and you're kind of out of it, but you never really lose consciousness, or if you do, it's just for a few seconds and you don't feel quite right. And if you go to the emergency room, they might check you out and they, follow my finger or do some simple tests and you seem okay. But the challenge is for those folks, some of them will go on and recover just fine, right? So they'll take it easy for a few days and after a few weeks, they'll be kind of back to baseline. But then there are some that the symptoms that they have will linger. New symptoms will present over the coming days after the injury. The symptoms go up and down. Like you seem to have good days and bad days. You can't seem to gain positive momentum. So for folks like that who, if they seem like they were okay, getting information about what it is they're experiencing, helping them understand the types of docs to talk to, getting support. That's a lot of the calls that we get at the Brain Injury Association. And for the folks who may have been seen and went home and it's a month later and they still can't go back to work and they're like, I should be better.
Right.
I should be better. And so, because they're under the assumption, the only thing they heard was when they got seen but take it easy for a few days. You should take a week off work. You should be
Because
okay.
what was that famous actor that just recently passed from? They said that he might have hit his head or something. And
Yeah. Bob
what was
Saget,
his
right?
name?
Yeah, Bob Saget, who
Bob Saget. That is
fell and
so he.
apparently,
They said it was twice. Like so, he probably failed or something, and then just thought,
yeah,
oh gosh,
yeah.
how easy is it for somebody to get a brain injury? Like when people fall, should they just like literally run to the emergency room and get a CAT scan and see? Because my son, when he was younger,
Yeah.
he had a kid had punched him, and I don't know, I had just saw something on TV. I don't know why I freak out anyway, but he came home and he goes, Mom, this boy pushed me down. I said, what, you hit your head? And then while he was talking, his nose started bleeding. And then I was like, oh, we're going to the emergency room.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
didn't know. It just was like freaking me out. But
Yeah.
how, should we be worried if we fall or get hit or, how you bump into something? How sensitive is it? And,
So
should
it's
that be a
interesting because
reason to freak out like me?
God, it's both very fragile and very resilient. So it's both, right? So it doesn't take too much to create an injury, but there's certainly a lot of ability for the brain to heal. So the rule of thumb is if if you think you sustain some type of injury, you're really just not feeling right. I think part of that is you got to listen to your own body. What is your body telling you? Like if you don't feel right, call your doctor. Go get checked out. Have somebody take you just to rule out anything that could be more serious.
Right.
Just to get checked out. I usually tell folks that if they've had a concussion and they say, oh, you should be okay, I'm like, well, go see your doctor.
Exactly.
Because if you see your doctor and they check you out and you start to get worse, or you're not getting better, if you go back to them, they would have seen you before. Then they could say, well, you're right, you're not getting better. Versus if you wait and the first time you go is 3 months later after the injury, they haven't seen the other 3 months. They haven't seen where you've been. And so it gets harder for them to always see kind of what you've experienced and maybe try to help correct or support or direct you to a more helpful therapy or service.
How hard is it to explain brain injury to others? Because is it linked to mental, how do I say this? The brain injury is linked to mental illness, if you get a brain injury, does it affect you in a way that then you can be diagnosed with a mental health challenge? I don't know. Maybe that's Dr. Gettings' question. She's coming on kind of bring us back to the biology. She probably back at like, girl, can you stop? But I just be asking these questions. I have to ask questions that I'll be thinking of. So
yeah, because that's what a lot of people at Contact Us ask is like, what does this mean? They totally have a brain. What does that mean? How long is it going to take me to get better? What's this going to look like? How should I help myself get better? And the thing about it, obviously, is the brain controls everything. So you can have a huge range of consequences or issues or challenges after an injury. So you can certainly have like depression or anxiety, sleep issues, balance issues, vision issues, headaches, all of those kind of range of things. It can present in a lot of different ways. It's certainly a challenge. Did
you see Lady Red, what she just put up there? Wait a minute, Greg. She said, as kids, they told us to drink milk and not lay down after we bump our head, like milk was the cure-all.
That's it. That's right.
I mean, is milk the cure? Oh no, that's Dr. Gettings. Remember, or Vaseline. Put Vaseline on it, like Vaseline and milk. Boy, that's probably what happened. We all probably had brain injuries growing up, and our grandparents just put us to.
Sure.
We were resilient. I mean, and that's what's so deep, because we're talking about later on, like getting brain scans and stuff, and like seeing, like, what do you think? I mean, this might be another question. I just ask whatever comes to my brain. Do you think if all of us got a brain scan, we would see like some injury in there?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I've had that asked more than a few times.
From me falling, or like I fell out a window once. Like my mother said, I fell out of the baby crib and she lost me in the snow for like a long time. They thought they kept going and I wasn't in the little stroller. I mean, that's a little bit more than that. That's a little child neglect kind of stuff. We talk about that later. But What happened to me when I fell out there and hit the ground and then I was in the snow for a long time? Should I be worried?
Well, yeah. So it is interesting that the idea of, right, if you could take a scan, could you see evidence of an old injury, or right, could see evidence of the right, something that had happened years ago. And I mean, certainly there are times we get calls where we hear from folks where they're like, yeah, we took a scan and there was it was evidence of an old injury that they had forgotten about, right? Had happened, decades before. But then you also get folks who have had multiple concussions or milder injuries, and they'll take a scan and it'll be clean. There's like no evidence of injury. But
like you said earlier, the brain is both. What did you say?
Yeah.
You said it really powerful. Like we should do a T-shirt.
It's both very fragile and very resilient. I mean, it's
very fragile and very resilient.
Yeah.
Okay, so let us know any resources that can help us, and then I want you to stick around because I'm going to bring you back at the end. We wrap up the show, but give us a little bit of resources that can help with brain injury that you guys do.
So I'd say the biggest thing would be our website, the Brain Injury Association of America.
And we'll show that later. We're going to show people how to get in touch with you.
Okay. And then our 800 number. So which also you can call and talk to us. And we can certainly, answer questions. There's a ton of information on our website. It can be hard to sometimes find stuff. Call us, email us. If we have
and so that's after I get a diagnosis with a brain injury. You guys don't have people calling saying like, I think I got a brain injury. Can I talk to Greg?
Yeah, we get those a lot. Yeah, we get a lot of those.
Oh, so you have clinicians and all kind of people on your team, or you direct them to?
We'll direct them, right? So we'll tell them, kind of gives them some suggestions about kind of where to go. Like you had said, if you kind of knocked your head and you're not quite sure if you've had an injury, it's probably good to talk to somebody who works in brain injury to say whether it's worth getting checked out, or
and they'll ask you some type of questions to kind of navigate to see if you need further. That's awesome. We don't talk enough about that. Yeah, interesting, right, Desiree? I know, because we don't talk about these things. And I'm sorry we missed the whole month. I'm sure you were very busy this month, but I'm glad that, one of our team, one of our producers, we definitely want you to come back, because I know Dr. Getting said there's so much about brain injury. She said, have you ever saw anyone return back to normal after brain injury? My cousin had 5 strokes after getting his COVID vaccine, 36 years old, seemed healthy, but now he has what they say is brain damage. He functions normal in conversations. Is he not moving, but he is walking? He can't talk. He has to stop walking to talk. He can't do them at the same time. Yeah. With time can be reversed. Whoa.
Well, I can't speak to the.
That's a Dr. Gettys. Maybe Dr. Gettys can answer that, Lady Red, when she comes on. But yeah, and then also get these resources for, your cousin to get in touch with Greg and the Brain Injury Association too, so he can get involved in some of the things too, because I know I came on one of your Facebook pages. You guys had a really cool panel with people living with it, and just be in that community as well and have the support. So I want to bring you back at the end of the show, and stick around. We're going to talk about autism. We're going to bring you back when we bring our clinicians, and we'll finish it off. Can you do that for us? Can you stick around?
Absolutely.
All right, Greg, thank you so much. And so I want to stop. Oh, we missed, and guys, y'all got to remind me so I can stop for my traffic control. I stopped internally, but I want to try everybody stopping at the same time. I got to get a traffic control producer just to tell me to stop talking at traffic control. But anyway, I want to introduce our guest now. I would like to talk about autism as we enter into Autism Day. And again, I said April 2nd is World Autism Awareness Month, and then April 2nd is World Autism Day. So today we have Deborah Vines, who is a founder and CEO of The Answer Inc., a 501c3 not-for-profit organization dedicated to providing support, resources, education, recreation, and advocacy for families in the greater Chicago area that are challenged with supporting family members with autism and developmental disorders. Since 2007, they have helped parents to become the best advocates for themselves and their children, while promoting opportunities for parents to learn, have fun, and contribute to the community together, educating and empowering each other in ways that are not limited by social, economic, or cultural factors. Come on in, Deborah. Hi, girl. I can't hear you. I can't
Oh,
hear
wait,
you.
wait,
Welcome.
wait.
I think my producer, she undid you. She unhooked you. Hi,
Am I good?
Deborah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome to the show.
Hi,
We also are
everybody.
bringing
How are
on,
you?
so I'm going to talk to you for a little bit, and then I want to also bring on James, who is a person living, an adult living with autism. So first, I want to say thank you for being here. I know you are a hot, busy lady, but I so appreciate you being here because you are on the front lines of this. I mean, tell me about why you started Answer Inc. Because I went on the website, but I just want you to tell me your own journey and how you arrived at this.
Well, firstly, Allison, thank you so much for having me on. It's truly been a journey. My son, one of the love of my life. I have two children.
Okay.
Jason is my baby, and Mark is my oldest. But Jason was diagnosed with autism when he was 18 months old. And my husband, my late husband, and I, James Harlan, we went through so many challenges. And God put it on my heart like years and years and years before I even started the journey of the answer to do it. But we hard-headed, right? So
Yes.
I was hard-headed, but in 2007, God put it on my heart to start the Answer Incorporated because our son Jason was diagnosed when he's 18 months old, and we've had so many challenges finding resources within our community. And I just didn't want another parent to have to go through what my husband and I went through. Firstly, feeling alone and isolated because living in an under-resourced community, right?
Right.
And I didn't want anyone else to have to go through that because if you don't have any resources to grow, how do you grow? Not just for your child, but firstly for yourself, because you have to become strong and empowered to be able to deal with every challenge that comes along with autism because it's such a big spectrum. And
and tell me right there, because the topic of the show is spectrum or spectacular, because I hear that a lot. We always hear this word for somebody who is not well versed because everybody's like, she's on the spectrum. I'm on the spectrum. When I had a performance art school, we had a young girl and she could sing, she was this, and then there was something else and I couldn't point it out, and you don't want to know what to say. And then one time I just walked to the mom and I'm like, what's going on? It's a little something. She said, well, she's on the spectrum. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't go into it, or I didn't know what to say because of, like you say, the stigma, or I was like, the spectrum, what that mean? But then,
well, it is a spectrum. It's a spectrum, and it goes from mild to severe.
That's it. That's all the spectrum means.
From mild to high executive function. So, the terminology has changed so much over the years. Jason is now 34 years old, and they would say low functioning, high functioning, in the middle. But now, it's low executive functioning, high executive function, because you might have a person that has autism that can sing.
She could
sing, but cannot tell you what 2 + 2 is.
Right.
Cannot cross the street. Does not have any socialization skills.
What is autism?
Okay, just like your disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. I'm just
so we'll ask that to Dr. Geddes. I don't mean to ask that.
But I'm gonna say the layman's definition of autism is a developmental disorder that impacts socialization and behavior. So let's just say that.
So I want to ask, I can't wait to bring Dr. Geddes on because I'm not. Could we all be, I guess that's a Dr. Geddes thing. Could we all be on the spectrum at some point then?
Let me tell you something. Since Jason was diagnosed with autism, and you touched on this just a few seconds ago, and you said that she can sing, but it's just something different about her.
Right.
I mean, even as we were coming up, it was always someone in the neighborhood that has something different about them. It's someone that you work with that has something different about you. It's one of your friends that's, okay, she's quirky, she works, she has a 6-figure job, but it's something about her. I'm gonna tell you something, and this is just a Deborah Vance statement, not a
right.
I feel like everyone has a tendency of autism in them. I do.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's nothing. And guess what? There's nothing wrong with that. That's the whole point of the Brain Truth.
But let me tell you about the children and adults that aren't living with autism and have been diagnosed. They are the most loving, unconditionally truthful people that you can ever live with. I mean, everything.
Guess what? On that note,
is what you get.
Let's bring James on up in here then, because James Brandon is lovable. So James Brandon is 33, is a man of passion, talent, and resolve. He's born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and he is a person that is living with autism. And he does not view his disability as a disability. His entire life, in essence, is directly contributed to his autism and his application to his experiences. Being diagnosed later in life, James has been learning to fully embrace and accept himself with grace and patience. Being, and I don't know this word, neurodivergent, he's gonna have to explain to me what that is.
Neurodiverse.
It's in a neurotypical world, does have its challenges and adversities, but James truly believes there can be great things achieved by cooperation, collaboration. So I wanted to bring him in so he can meet you, Deborah, and then, see what kind of stuff we can collaborate. Hey, James.
Hey,
Welcome
everyone.
to the Brain
Hi.
Truth.
Thank you
love
so
what
much
you
for having
said.
me, Allison. And Deborah, thank you for
Hi.
sharing your spirit and your light, and really enjoying what I've been hearing so far.
And I heard wonderful things from you from one of my producers, Kim Spies. And when Deborah said, they're the most, what did you say, Deborah? The most
loving, truthful,
Yeah.
unconditionally loving, truthful people that you meet.
Yeah, actually, as you said that, Deborah, right before I came on, I did get a little misty-eyed at that statement. Just from my personal experience, I mean, that's just love, and be loved, and that's ultimately just something that was just so beautiful that you said. So thank you for sharing that.
Lady Red says, hey, James. Now, Lady Red is
Hi,
a
Lady
really
Red.
big radio personality. So I'm glad she's tuning in tonight. And there's a lot of people that's making comments, Edward and Christine, and there's a bunch of people. But Deborah,
I want to go back. I want to go back before you get to your question. I want to go back to something that you said.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was in the content of mental disorder. Firstly, autism is a developmental disorder, and society. I'm not going to say society, but a lot of people, they lump autism with a mental disorder, traumatic brain injury with a mental disorder. It's not a mental disorder. It's a developmental disorder, because did nobody wake up with a traumatic brain injury? It was developed.
Right.
So let's just make that real clear.
So are we born with autism? So, or we don't know.
Well,
That's another
that's a scientific question.
Okay.
But autism is deemed as a developmental intellectual disability.
Got it. Okay. So James, tell us, you said you got diagnosed as an adult, and how did that all come
Later
about?
in
Just
life,
you
right.
yourself went, or how did that happen?
Well, interesting story. I mean, as discussing earlier in the show, you had mentioned how Rain Man was the pretty much like Hollywood, or what became the public understanding of autism. And if you weren't Rain Man, you weren't diagnosed. So, I mean, just for years and years and years, and again, me coming up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania during the early 90s in my developmental years, not to mention the stigmatism within Black culture and community. It just went undiagnosed for a very long time, just like, oh, like he's really good at this, but can't color in the lines, like a discipline problem, can't stay in the seat, hyperactive, may need Ritalin, and just all of these things. But ultimately, the moment of clarity, or my aha moment, my nephew, Gabriel, whom is pretty much just like a next generation version of me.
Okay.
Like literally, like some of the quirks, the stimming, and him just being so inquisitive, just being so curious, and just I looked at him, and when he was formally diagnosed, I started to put two and two together in my mind, and I went to a neurologist, and we discussed a few things, did a few scans and tests, and ultimately it's mainly observed as a behavioral observation of the patient that is potentially being examined for autism. And ultimately, in that, just there was so much. At first, it was kind of unsettling moment, just being that I was like,
And you were
well, I
how
was
old when they diagnosed you? You were
I was about 27, 28.
27, 28. So I want to bring
Yes.
on, this is a perfect time to segue. Thank you, James, for coming on. I just wanted you to come on as a person living with it because we have Deborah here who we really want to get into what her organization is doing to help people like you. And I want to bring on our brain gang, specifically Dr. Gettings right now, because we want to get into the brain biology of this conversation. And so, Dr. Gettings, I want you to join in because every question I have, be like, Dr. Gettings from the top of the show. So come on in here, Dr. Gettings. And as you guys know, hey. So Dr. Gettings is our brain gang, our in-house psychiatrist, and this is one of her favorite subjects is autism. Because tell them what you working on, honey. Come on.
Hi, everyone. Everyone can hear me okay, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Just a little background. My first cousin has autism, and he was the first person that I ever met diagnosed with autism as a child. Growing up around him, I was able to see a lot of the differences. And I, as a child psychiatrist, have worked with so many families, helping individuals get properly diagnosed. For the last 20 plus years, even starting out working at Misericordia, I worked with people with neurodevelopmental diagnoses. So I'm sitting backstage listening to the questions, listening to like what's coming up. And I just want to say this is such an important topic, Allison, and I'm so glad that we're having this conversation and just kind of, scratching at the surface, so to speak. I'm training right now for the Chicago Marathon for autism research. So I'm working with the Organization of Autism Research. That'll be in October. So there's been a lot of questions that have come up that I'm really hopeful that I can provide some answers to.
So the first thing I want to ask Deborah is what does your organization actually do? I read a lot. You guys it was such a long list. I was like, I'm just gonna ask Deborah. And it's like you are the go-to woman. You are like the Oprah, the head honcho, the it girl, the movie. Like you, I watch you. I started following you on Facebook. I know Q Johnson, who introduced us, a dynamo, and she sits on your board of directors.
Yes.
Your board of directors too. They all look good. Is that one of
Thank
the
you.
records? I want to look at your board. They all look so beautiful and happy and just stay like excited. So tell us what you guys do.
Well, you know what? We are very excited because we are serving the underserved. So we are truly excited. Well, the Answer Incorporated, our mission statement is that we're dedicated to providing support, resources, education, recreation, and advocacy, not just for workforce development as well, not just for families living with autism, but developmental disabilities across the board. Because you have a lot of families that have children that are dually diagnosed, right? Like my son, he has autism and cerebral palsy. You have a lot of families that have autism and Down syndrome, ADD, Down syndrome, traumatic brain injury. So we didn't want to leave any families out. And since 2007, we've serviced over 4,000 families, underserved families within the community by way of all of our programs, including our 24-hour support line. Because when we first started the Answer Incorporated, it was because of a need for my family first. And because I felt like I was the only African-American Black person that was in my community that had a child with disability, because it's a stigma in communities of Black and brown families. You know, we want to hide our children. We don't just bring them out. We're embarrassed, things like that. I'm not going to say they're embarrassed because I'm not. And so since we started the Answer Incorporated, families are starting to be empowered to bring their children out in the community for the community get used to our community, because it's definitely a journey. It's something that people have to get used to. And so with our organization, we started with just a support group, but we've grown into tutoring programs, exercise and dance program, nutrition programs. We have a program my husband started just for men, because men are different. they don't like to talk about their issues. You know, they're proud, they're nurturers, they're fixers. And so since they're fixers, they don't like to let anybody know that they're not fixing their family. But guess what? Autism can't be fixed. It can be helped, but it can't be fixed. They do not have a cure for autism yet, as of yet. But guess what? Maybe autism don't need to be fixed. It just needs to be managed. You know, my son is amazing. He is truly amazing. You know, sometimes
I can't wait to meet him.
I used to pray all the time, you know, and I still sometimes do, would be like, Lord, just let me be able to have a conversation with my son. I just want to have a conversation with him. But you know what? We have eyeball conversations. He does have limited language, but we have eyeball conversations to the point where everybody in the community loves my son because I take him everywhere to let the community know that autism is not a disease. It's not something that if you touch somebody, you can catch it. It's not, you shouldn't be afraid. You have to know how to live with this community of people. And
so when you first heard, I heard you say, when you first found out, he was how old again?
He was 18 months.
And so you said it was devastating because
you just didn't know
enough. You just
because
didn't know enough.
Only thing I heard about autism was what? Rain Man.
See,
my son was not exhibiting anything, but you know what?
Yeah.
To speak to that point, there is other television programs that are exhibiting autism.
Like The Good Doctor and all of that.
Right? Not just a good doctor.
Which one?
Claws, a black.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yes, the man that's portraying the African American man that's portraying someone with autism. He's doing a great job, great job.
We need to do more with advertising. Rain Man was the one that was the biggest.
Yeah,
but like that, people don't know about it, and people maybe we should do some screenings. Maybe we can.
Well, I'm working on something so we can talk about it.
We want to work with you now. Let us know how we can help you out, honey.
Absolutely.
So, Dr. Gettings, explain to us. Give us the low on the spectrum. Tell us all that you can tell us about it. Hey.
Yeah, so I just want to kind of touch on what we've already talked about and kind of explain it from just how I've been trained and how I understand it. I think the important distinction that Mrs. Vines brought up is the fact that this is a developmental condition. And so when we think about what causes development to be different, if you will, more than 50% of cases of individuals that are diagnosed with autism, we know it's linked to some genetic issue. So if you think about it, there's genetics, there's also environmental factors. And everything we've talked about tonight thus far is about the brain and what happens when the brain is not functioning in a what we call neurotypical way, right? And so in order to really understand what may be different in an individual who has autism, you kind of have to start at the root and look at the behaviors and map them, if you will, to certain parts of our brain. So when we talk about symptoms, right, a lot of people who are concerned that their child may not be developing in a neurotypical way, one of the first things that they see is that lack of social interaction, that lack of eye contact, that lack of speech development, which we would expect around 18 months. So a lot of times in those cases, when we talk about severity, mild versus moderate versus this spectrum, right? I really feel like we have not developed a true language for all of the different subtypes, if you will, of how autism may present. And the language has changed a lot over time. But in cases where speech development is absent, that's usually when you will see a parent start to develop concern, right? They're not interacting. They also can present with sensory issues. They may be very sensitive to sound. You may find self-harming behaviors as a way to actually stimulate sensation. So when we see these things, we have to think about, well, what part of the brain is responsible for that? One of the major things that I see a lot of times in the clinic with individuals who have autism is circadian rhythm abnormalities, right? They don't sleep the way we sleep, or they may need a lesser amount of sleep. And we know that's related to the brainstem. The brainstem is a part of the brain that can be abnormal, if you will, when you look at autism. When we look at the neurobiology of autism, it doesn't just affect one part of the brain. And your brain is like an orchestra. You've got all these different parts. You know, you got the violinists, the saxophonists, they all supposed to be doing their job. And then you got the frontal lobe, the conductor there to kind of keep everything going and working. Well, when you have parts that are operating differently, it's going to show up. Someone asked a question earlier related to brain injury about a relative who had gotten a COVID vaccine and it had a stroke. Well, when you go to the emergency room and you think you may be having symptoms of a stroke, one of the easiest ways before you even take a picture of the person's brain is to do a physical exam and see what they can and can't do. Can you feel this? Can you repeat after me? Can you walk around the room? You can map a lot of abnormalities with brain function before seeing a scan. So when she was asking specifically about someone who's clearly had a stroke, which is loss of blood supply to a particular part of the brain. In this person's case, it was their motor cortex, right? Somewhere in their motor function, there was a loss of blood. Can they recover? That depends on the severity. How long did that brain tissue go without oxygen, right? Because oxygen is the number one nutrient. If you're not getting it, you're getting nothing. We have a lot of studies that show that if you look at the placenta of women who've given birth to children who have autism, there's evidence of oxidative stress. We know certain infections can increase the risk of outcome. Medications.
I'm so glad that you said that. I'm so glad you said that, Dr. Gettings, because
why?
Because when Jason was born, firstly, he was born at 2 pounds 6 ounces at 24 weeks. He did lose oxygen to the brain for some amount of time because he was in the birth canal during the time, and they decided to go on and do a C-section because he was so small.
Yep.
His ABGOR score was low. And something that I've noticed in a lot of families that I service, and I'm starting to get a lot of data on it.
Yeah.
But I'm finding that men that are over 40 as African American men have a lot of children with autism, and it's from the male side. For instance, on my husband's side of the family, you have my son Jason, and then he has a brother that has a son that has a son that is developmentally challenged. So on my husband's side of the family, there are 3 developmentally challenged boys, right? On my side of the family is 2.
Okay. And we know that with autism, for sure, there's a higher incidence in males. They're 4 times, have a higher, and what we see is that there's some protective factors, women, that are there when it comes to just genetic development. But at the end of the day, what we're talking about is genes and environment. And over 50% of the cases, like if you have an individual that has a child with autism, they have a 10 times increased risk of having another child with autism.
Right.
I work with parents who, I mean, I've told Allison, and I know she gets it, but seeing it every day, parents who've been in the house with their, not just children, their adult children who have nothing to do. They have programming. COVID shut all of that down. They don't have resources, and they're trying to manage their own sanity in the midst of caring for these individuals.
But let me just say this. Parenting doesn't start when your kid gets to be 13 and 14 years old. And this is what I try to stress to the families, that although autism does not have a cure, our children and adults can get better, but it's work, and it's consistent work. That's why I love ABA, because it's consistency. Everything works with consistency, right? They said that my son was not going to walk, talk, or have any type of socialization. He dances with everybody at the club. He has limited language. He has great socialization skills. But a lot of it is diet too, Doc. A lot of it is diet. I eliminated all sugar from my house outside of something sweet every once in a while, or maybe coming from a piece of fruit. And I noticed tremendous differences in his behavior. So although autism does not have a cure, we have to be intentional, and especially in Black and brown communities, because I service a lot of different ethnicities, but I'm keen on the Black and brown community because that's what I am, and that's what I'm unapologetically am. And
she's like, I follow her.
Our families are taken care of.
Yes.
But a lot of it is diet. It's
Yeah.
diet.
Well, we
It's
know.
diet. So James,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to bring James in quickly, Dr. Gettings, in the conversation, because here is a grown man, we're looking at him, who learned later on, do you believe, I don't know if you believe, but you guys can have this conversation. I'll sit back. But did somebody miss it? Did somebody ignore it? Or was it, he's on the spectrum? I don't know. Break it down for why they missed that, Dr. Gettings, or
Well, the
did
first
they?
thing I would ask is, do you know if you had any delayed speech development? Because one of the distinctions that existed before they removed kind of Asperger's and made it all autism spectrum disorder, there used to be the term Asperger's that was used to identify individuals that typically have a higher IQ, but also do not display that delayed speech development. So a lot of times you may have a child that's not, again, what we consider neurotypical, but they don't have the impairments or challenges that may send a person running to the doctor to say something's wrong with my child, right? So they're talking, they're doing well in school, but the social piece, which is a huge part of brain functioning, oftentimes becomes the telltale sign much later in a lot of cases. But I'll let James speak to kind of his thoughts.
James talks, I got to bring in the rest of the brain gang. We're moving so fast that I have to bring in my gang. But James, answer that, then I'm going to bring in the game so we can wrap all this up.
All right. Well, I mean, definitely when coming up, there were additional supports that were needed, such as speech therapy, additional help with language arts and mathematics. But ultimately, it was just having that person just being my speech therapist, just being patient enough to work with me and getting me to be able to express things. Because one of the things that my family mentioned to me, I sang before I talked. It was just that musical expression. Reminds me of a quote that Felicia Rashad said. It's that before children walk, they dance. Before they write, they draw. And that just artistic expression is pretty much the building of human expression. And literally, even throughout the autistic community, you see various forms of expression just before they get into the neurotypical way of doing things or what society deems appropriate.
Yeah.
Thank
right,
you.
right.
I know that not to cut you off, but Deborah is being pulled in all kind of different ways, and I want to thank her so much for being here. If you guys want to get in touch with Deborah Vines and find out more about what her organization, The Answer Inc. is doing, you can go to well, first of all, you can go to theanswerinc.org. That's theanswerinc.org. Get involved. I know she's got a big walk coming up. And then also she's got a book out on Amazon.
Yes, it's a bestseller on Amazon.
It's a bestseller. And I ordered mine. I love it. I ordered mine, and I want you guys to do it. I think she's actually having an event right now for her book. So bravo to you, Miss Vines. We appreciate you coming on, and we're going to actually bring you back on the show.
Please
because
do.
I think there's just so much more that we have to talk about. So I want to bring in Dr. Ivy and Angie, and I think Francie, and bring back everybody so we can close it off. I think Francie, you're here, and we just want to close off the show. I know you want to bring in, Angie, the part about the brain buffet, which is important because I think Deborah Vines has said something earlier about that. And so the brain buffet, where's my brain buffet? And then Greg, come on in, about diet and foods for people who are with autism. And Angie, you want to speak to that, who's our brain gang member who handles all our nutrition. So get into what the brain buffet is for tonight.
Ooh, the brain buffet. I'm hungry already. Well, just to actually add on to what Deborah was just saying, I think she's an incredible mother, and she was so on point when she said that it is not all about, but diet is huge when it comes to kids and humans with autism, because the brain runs on ketones, and she eliminated sugar from her son's diet, which in turn created ketones in her son's body on accident, if she knew or she didn't know if that was what she was doing. But the thing is, the brain needs fuel, and because when you have autism, you're not running on a neurotypical brain. That means that the neurons in your brain are essentially starving, kind of. So you want to fuel the neurons in your brain. And the way to do that is through ketones. But how do you get ketones in your body? Well, you have to eliminate the sugars from your body. So if you take the glucose out of your body's going to create ketones, which ketones will fuel the neurons in your brain, and it will help in all kinds of ways. I think that that's like the number one thing that I would suggest, all humans in general do, but especially if you're battling with things like autism and things that have to do with the neurons in your brain. That's my tip of the day. That's my
Thank you,
tip.
Angie. I appreciate it.
You're
And
welcome.
Dr. Ivy, why don't you let us know, after listening to what we were saying, is give us a little bit about your brain balance. We can't hear you. The brain balance.
I was saying that this is a really wonderful conversation and something that I do believe that we need to have more of. And so you came up with another fabulous idea. And so for me, autism is a universe of love. And everyone comes to this planet with a purpose, comes to this planet with a mission. And I just believe that the autism is a universe of love. And I prefer to do that than to create that developmental disorder, NOS, or what they call not otherwise specified, because it is specified. They've come to the earth to teach truth, love, creativity, endurance, curiosity, how to build effective and loving relationships. It's a multiverse of its own. So creating that balance is very critical, particularly with learning how to meditate. So autism is a universe of love.
Wow. I love it. I love it. So last words, Greg, you want to close out, and I'm going to let Dr. Gettings get that wrap up at the end. But what do you want to let our audience, take away from this conversation tonight?
Well, for folks with brain injury, I would say that probably the biggest challenge would be that you can't see the injury. So it's often hard for family and friends and others to understand the injury, what's changed, what's different. So I think the importance of finding support, finding good information, educating yourself, and getting folks to educate their family and friends can make a big difference in kind of what recovery might look like after a brain injury. I think the other part is that we used to think the brain was very static. We used to think that your IQ was set, you had as many brain cells you were going to get, and that was that. And we understand now the brain is much more dynamic than we ever thought. So there's a lot, the ability and the timetable for recovery and change after an injury is much, much greater than we thought 20 years ago.
Wow.
There can always be improvement. There can always be recovery. Nutrition plays a role in recovery after brain injury as well. Social connections, helping others, trying to pay it forward, all can play a role in kind of helping yourself improve after an injury.
Yes. Thank you, Greg. And if you want to learn more about what Greg Ayotte is doing with the Brain Injury Association of America, please visit www.biausa.org. He is the Director of Consumer Services, and there's his number. He takes calls, so get involved and see what they're up to. And then, Franzi, I know that you're here tonight. I know you're one of our clinicians. I don't know, you were wanted to come on and maybe say a little thing before we leave, and then I want Dr. Gettings to get the last word before we go into our brain bliss.
I just want to take this opportunity to remind all of us who know anyone who is the main caretaker of someone with a traumatic brain injury or that's someone that's has severe, moderate to severe spectrum, make sure you wrap your arms around that person and remind them to practice self-care and to get the support that they need so that they can continue.
That is awesome, Franzi. That is such a good perspective. The caretakers, those people. And that might be good too to reach out to the Brain Association to see. I'm sure they have a lot of resources as well. So you guys keep supporting. Dr. Gettings, I want you to wrap it all up and then we're going to go into the Brain Bliss.
Well, as always, I think it's important for us to take time to educate ourselves about how our bodies work. Our central nervous system, which houses the brain, is so dynamic. It is so complex. And we got in some good nuggets in this small chunk of time. But I just want to encourage everyone to never stop learning about how your body and your brain works. I'm here to give you the biology, to give you the breakdown. And I think that is the root of all healing, because when we understand how we function, then we know how to take care of ourselves. And I want to say I support all caregivers. Their job is it's indescribable. And I'm so thankful that we're giving the community resources on this platform.
Thank you, Dr. Gettings. Wow. This show, I'm telling you guys, every time I do this show, I grow, I learn a little more. I'm about to get emotional. I don't know where this emotional stuff comes from. I get emotional because we come on this platform and we're just so authentic. I mean, you've got people taking their time out to be a part of this conversation, this community, to help you guys that are listening. And I hope that we are doing what we're assigned to do, because, you know, these people are on the forefront every day. You look at Greg, like I was asking him, what do you do? I'm sure he wakes up and he goes to work, and his life is dedicated to helping individuals with traumatic brain injury. And Deborah Vines, who's on the forefront of autism, and my clinicians and my brain gang. I mean, this is who we are. And so I just want you guys to just understand that I'm a consumer. I'm a person that's living with mental illness. I'm here just like you, soaking up this information, taking notes. And like Franzi said, caretakers out there, all of us, you know, thank you guys for weighing in tonight. Lady Red, I see you. Rachel, another brain gang. Hey, Rachel, she's our child advocate. Hey, everyone. And so our brain gang is out there watching. So with that being said, next week's show, so we're already moving on. I want to thank our guests though, but next week's show, we are going into National Counseling Awareness Month. So next week, we're going to have all conversations in episode 2.13 about people who are on the front lines in counseling. That means therapists, clergy, and, you know, not your friends who do Google counseling, y'all. They don't count. But real people who are here, available, and helping us get through some things. So tonight, though, before I go into the Brain Bliss, I'm not going to do the meditation Brain Bliss tonight. I'm going to hand that over to my queen mother, honey, the one and only, the international, one, that's Dr. Ivy. And she just recently, like we said, released her album. And I'm telling you guys, please, Lady Red, everybody who's still watching, go to Dr. Ivy right here, that website, that on Bandcamp, and get the Frequency of Love. It's a sonic meditations for relaxation and deep healing. It literally is life transformational. She's 15 years in working on this, but 40 years in this business of sound vibronics and sound healing. She does the sound spa. I think she's going to reignite that coming up. And it's a treat for you. It's a treat for you to get into a space of calm, of healing before every show. She puts me really in a place because I have anxiety, and I listen to it before I go to bed. And so tonight we are going to close out the show with one of our favorite selections that Krishan, our producer, picked. And this is going into our Brain Bliss. So thank you guys for tuning in tonight. We'll see you next Tuesday at 7:30 right here on The Brain Truth with Allison Jordan on thebraintruth.com. And I want you guys to give yourself a treat right now and ready yourself for frequency of love.
Healing begins in the mind. I welcome you into my world of inner peace and emotional balance. With sonic mind streaming meditations and sound vibronics. An extraordinary, penetrating, and powerful mindfulness practice using crystal sound vibrations. Thoughts of the highest form and intention to manifest, and sultry rhythms that will soothe your soul. This sonic meditation experience has been created with singing crystal bowl vibrational musical instruments. You may experience profound effects on the organs, the tissues and cells, as well as the circulatory and endocrine systems. These sound frequencies penetrate deeply into each atom, molecule, cell, gland, and organ of the human body. The human body absorbs the sound frequencies. Crystal sound frequencies. A master healer. Absorbing, storing, releasing, and regulating energy. Light is faster than sound, and thought is faster than light. Creating instant shifts in consciousness. Get ready. Use this deep relaxation experience to reset your emotions